When someone sits down and thinks of Alaska, several iconic images might come to mind. Sockeye racing up a stream, dull sheep perched high on a cliff, or maybe a bull moose tromping through a swamp. However, one animal stands above the fold, holding the title as North America's apex predator, the Alaskan brown bear. Hunters for generations have journeyed from all over the world to venture into the unknown in search of this mythological beast. Fresh off the plane from Austria, Victor has set out on the same journey to try his hand at brown bear hunting. Join us as we embark on this adventure of a lifetime. Along the way, we'll be guided by my friend and hunting guide Jake Lamphere as we raft deep in the Alaska range. The Super Cubs are pre-flighted, so let's kick the tires and light the fires. Hop on in and buckle up as we take off in search of an unforgettable adventure. As a professional pilot and flight instructor, I've flown with pilots of all skill levels, but I always still find myself picking my jaw up off the floor when I see a skilled Super Cub pilot. These aircraft are the backbone of the Alaskan bush, due to them being as tough and versatile as the people who fly them. Short of landing an F-18 on an aircraft carrier, I can't think of many things as difficult in the world of aviation than being a bush pilot. If you ever get the chance to finagle yourself into the back of a Cub with a seasoned pilot, hold on, because it's about to get sporty. I guess I drew the short straw, as I was the first to be thrown out onto the banks of the river we'd call home for the next 10 days. Maybe they thought I'd make the best impromptu bear bait if it all went south, but whatever the reason, I was going to soak up every extra second I could get. Victor was the next bear bait candidate to show, and between the two of us we started setting up camp and organizing gear. One last round trip to bring in our trusty guide Jake, and we were hot to trot. Spirits were high that we all made it to the headwaters of our adventure, but as the buzz of the Super Cub faded into the distance, a twinge of uncertainty hit as I took in the reality around me. The vastness, the majesty, how small I truly am. The nameless mountains towering around me were now home for the next 10 days. The crazy thing is, years of planning have all led up to this moment. I've watched countless backcountry Alaskan hunts on TV. Shoot, I've been on many backcountry hunts in Alaska. This was my 10th trip to Alaska. Isn't this supposed to start feeling familiar? But then again, I don't want it to start feeling familiar. We don't go to Alaska for the routine. We set out into the great unknown to escape the mundane, to get out of our comfort zone, for a chance to create an unforgettable memory. Lucky for me, we had all the right ingredients to create just that. As the case with most hunts in Alaska, you aren't allowed to hunt on the same day you fly, so we were in no rush to get moving. This would be the only time we'd have a roof over our head for the next 10 days, so we spent the evening poking around camp, checking the zero on our rifles, and just enjoying the incredible scenery. It really didn't matter that I wouldn't be the one to pull the trigger on this hunt. I was just soaking up every second of being there. While taking it all in, I remember asking myself, are you going to be as awestruck on day 10 as day 1? And spoiler alert, despite the tough trial ahead, it never got old. But at the end of the day, we didn't come all this way just to stare at mountains. We were there on a mission. And so after a restless night of sleep, we set out to our first day of hunting. Even though this technically was a float trip and we hadn't even blown up the raft, we weren't just going to pass up prime real estate to spot a bear. So we spent the morning hunting near the cabin, before deciding to head out and take advantage of the perfect weather. The glacial headwaters were docile, but required picking your way through the labyrinth of shallow braids. Besides the occasional log jam or shallow spot, we couldn't really ask for a better day of floating. The sunshine and relaxed rowing served as a great opportunity to get to know Victor better and hear about his homeland. Hunting is such a great medium to bring people together. If you think about it, in what world do strangers decide their first hangout should be a camping trip deep in the mountains of Alaska? But as the hours passed by, strangers turned into friends, and by evening it was time to set out on our next hunt. After setting up camp, we geared up and bushwhacked our way through the dense willow. Along the way, I couldn't help but become giddy at all the bear tracks littered everywhere. We found a slow-moving pool full of sockeye that showed to be full of promise. In fact, it was so full of promise, our first bear popped out before I could even get my camera set up. Big bear, Jake frantically whispered. While the bear calmly perused the stream for salmon, we were comically tripping over ourselves trying to get our ducks in a row. The level of chaos that ensued rivaled the Three Stooges, and it wasn't long before the bear started to sense something was up. Right before we could get the shot off, the bear drifted down the stream, and the hunt was on. We played cat and mouse with the beast, trying to leapfrog his next move, but at the end of the night, we came back empty-handed. No worries though, this was only our first real day of hunting, so we don't want it to be too easy, right? Well, be careful what you wish for. The temperatures dropped overnight from 75 to 35 like it saw a cop in the school zone. That coupled with the damp conditions made for a chilly morning. But no big deal. Rain builds character, right? And what's the point of lugging around all this fancy rain gear if you don't even get to use it? So, looking like $1,000,000, we strutted out of camp to find another bear. However, we quickly forgot about the rain when we spotted a bear cruising on the other side of the river. We set out, put the stock on him, but ended up deciding the bear was a little small to shoot. One thing's for certain though, every time one of these jokers steps out, adrenaline starts pumping. We started to settle into our daily routine of hunting in the morning, followed by a midday siesta, then heading back out for the evening sit. The rain started to subside, so I decided it was high time to break out the new fly rod. I was hoping to catch grayling, trout, or really anything that would bite, but today, those fish seemed to be in short supply. It really didn't matter that fish weren't biting, because we were chomping at the bit to get back out there. We were 2 for 2 on seeing bears the previous 2 sits, and were hoping tonight was the night. We decided on the same spot as the first day and settled in. The spawning sockeye served as entertainment as the hours passed by, when suddenly the silence was shattered. Bear, bear, bear. Jake's voice startled me to look up and see a big bear heading our way up the creek. The beast scanned the creek for fish, but unlike my earlier fishing attempt, it did not take the seasoned angler long to catch his dinner. He promptly plucked a salmon right from the water before turning around and vanishing into the bush. This was potentially the same big bear from yesterday, meaning he was likely still on edge from that encounter. For a second time in a row, the bear had disappeared back into the brush, just as quickly as he had appeared. We knew if we were going to get another shot, we'd have to move fast. So without hesitation, we repositioned down the creek. A lone log positioned in the middle of the gravel bar was the only cover we could find, so we set up hoping the bear would come back for a second helping of salmon. And it wasn't long before we spotted movement again in the bushes, and out stepped a beautiful brown bear. With the bear coming out of the same relative area, our first thought was, surely this is the same brown bear. But after taking a double take, we realized this was not the same one we just saw. While still an awesome, mature animal, this was a smaller bear than the other. But despite its slightly smaller stature, my heart was still beating out of my chest as the bear closed the distance. I sat there frozen as the heavy breathing grew closer and closer, wondering whether or not Victor was going to shoot or pass. One thing for certain, a decision needed to be made pronto if we didn't want to be dinner ourselves. With each passing moment, the bear marched towards us, and before we could blink, the bear was within 25 yards. Jake and I both held our breath as we wondered what Victor's next move would be.
Hey, that's a dead bear. We got a brown bear.
And just like that, Victor had killed his first brown bear. I don't really know how to adequately describe the roller coaster of emotions on that August day. From shock to adrenaline to euphoria, and all mixed in with a healthy dose of fear. Bear hunting is really unlike anything on Earth. You know, this bear might not ever make a record book, but for the 3 guys that were fortunate enough to be there that day, it serves as an unforgettable memory.
Yeah, celebrate. Now we got a real reason.
White man's head. Bravo!
I still can't quite wrap my head around how a boy from Louisiana gets to go on these crazy Alaskan adventures. But I know one thing, It'll never get old. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like more information on an adventure of a lifetime, you can check out Hidden Alaska on social media or at hiddenak.com. They offer a wide range of hunts, and I cannot recommend their highly experienced guides enough. Whether it's brown bear, moose, caribou, or really anything in between, they have you covered. Get the true Alaskan experience by booking one of their hunts, and I guarantee you a memory that will last a lifetime. Lastly, if you enjoyed this video, please help us out by sharing it with a friend. We've got more where that came from, and I can't wait to share them with you. Till next time, Alaska.